Time travel is not a twist of fate. The male lead will unite the realm. But I, having crossed over, became the prime villain. Even the greatest beauty in the land wants to break off our engagement. Xie Hengyu, I want to break off our engagement. Even though you are the imperial grandson, you cannot abuse your power to bully me, forcing me to marry you. All eyes were upon the flower viewing pavilion in the imperial gardens. The Golden City. The greatest beauty was truly noble, unafraid of authority, brazenly rejecting the emperor's marriage decree before the crowd. The people murmured in discussion. Everyone knows the imperial grandson is the greatest noble in the capital. If a beauty like you married the imperial grandson, it would be a fresh flower inserted into a pile of dung. Mind your words, that dung you speak of is the imperial grandson, our future emperor. How can you insult the heir to the great Chu throne? What does it matter if he's the imperial grandson? If our Chu nation falls into his hands, ruin would be imminent. Yet the imperial grandson's love runs deep. To persistently pursue one who has no affection for 3 years, even begging the emperor to decree their marriage. The emperor dotes upon the imperial grandson after all. You can't say that either. In these past 3 years, the beauty accepted every gift the imperial grandson bestowed without refusal. I heard just recently, she even accepted the former empress's phoenix crown. The emperor valued that phoenix crown as one of his greatest treasures. Had the imperial grandson not pleaded for it, he would never have gifted it to anyone. Mentioning the former empress's phoenix crown, the crowd's gazes towards Liu Siyao were filled with envy and jealousy, especially those noble maidens confined at home, their eyes fixated on her seated figure. Xie Hengyu sat motionless, as if petrified, staring at the breathtaking beauty before him. Where is this place? Before he could react, memories flooded into his mind like a tidal wave. What's going on? Grimacing in pain, his brow furrowed tightly. After a moment, he was forced to accept it all. His mind was utterly blank. I've time traveled to a cultivation novel world? From the information in his mind, Xie Hengyu grasped his current situation. He confirmed his predicament. He was the imperial grandson. Aside from the crown prince himself, he was currently the sole heir to this great Xie Chu Dynasty. However, he did not transmigrate as the protagonist, but as the prime villain, a great villain despised by all. He now understood as well. The woman before him, insisting on breaking off their engagement, was none other than the first female lead, Liu Siyao. She dared to declare her intention to break it off before this crowd of onlookers. What had he done? Recalling the memories, he could only feel utterly speechless. Though his role was the villain, a disposable stepping stone for the protagonist's success, he was still second only to the emperor, the heir to the throne above millions of people in the entire state of Chu, an existence of utmost nobility, yet portrayed as utterly foolish by the original author. As the most powerful king in the capital, he was obsessed with only one person, Liu Siyao, fully enacting the cliché of loving beauty over kingdom. Utterly unreasonable, extremely unreasonable. So what if she's the #1 talented lady? So what if she's a great beauty? As the crown prince of the current reign, the future emperor, what kind of woman can't he have? Why must he hang himself on a tree? An even crooked tree at that? What status does Liu Siyao have? Her father is merely an insignificant imperial censor, completely unimportant in the capital. If not for his ties as the crown prince's friend, how could a little beauty like Liu Siyao possibly appear at the flower appreciation banquet held in the imperial gardens? Not only that, during the years he admired Liu Siyao, Who knows how many benefits the liars have reaped from him? And with his intentional and unintentional help, they nurtured a heaven's decree. And after he ascended the throne, this heaven's decree male lead brazenly rebelled, raised troops to usurp the throne, successfully claimed the crown, and shamelessly lived with the female lead. The state of Xie Hui thus fell. My Xie clan, as the former imperial family, was condemned for generations. As for myself, I was cruelly drawn and quartered by the heaven's decree. The male lead even shamelessly fabricated and exaggerated crimes of the Xie Hui imperial clan in the histories, listing a full 18 crimes. The one that left the deepest impression was the excessive debauchery charge, claiming I had an affair with the over 50-year-old imperial noble consort, thinking of his clan's ending and his own outcome. Xie felt a stabbing pain in his abdomen. Since he has transmigrated, he absolutely cannot repeat the same mistakes. Repeat mistakes, Xie Hengyu? Have you not been listening to me? Liu Siyao glared at the motionless Xie Hengyu, feeling a surge of anger within. Even if you are the crown prince, in my eyes you are a completely useless waste. Even if His Majesty bestows me as your wife, I, Liu Siyao, will not accept. No matter how obsessively you pursue me, I will never develop any feelings for you. I want you to petition His Majesty to revoke the marriage edict, to cancel our marriage. Xie Hengyu processed the flood of memories entering his mind. As you wish. I agreed to cancel our marriage. What? Liu Siyao was stunned by his sudden response. What did you just say? I said I agreed to the marriage cancellation you just mentioned. I will handle the cancellation with the emperor myself. As you wish. From now on, there will be no ties between us. As strange as acting a fool, Xie Hengyu observed her dumbfounded expression. I, the crown prince of Great Xie Hui, solemnly declare. The marriage between Xie Hengyu and Liu Siyao is officially annulled. Upon these words, all at the flower appreciation banquet were stunned into silence. The crown prince wishes to cancel the marriage. Did I hear that correctly? Just the other day, my father sent 3,000 taels of silver to the Liu family. And now he wants to cancel the marriage? Doesn't that mean our family's silver has been wasted? After a brief silence, Liu Siyao asked impatiently, Xie Hengyu, is what you said true? Cancel the marriage? This was something he had longed for day and night recently. Seeing her joyful expression, Xie Hengyu smiled. As you wish, he said with a smile. Tomorrow I shall inform my royal grandfather and have him decree the cancellation of our marriage. You wish to cancel the marriage? I want it even more than you do. Someone questioned doubtfully. Empty words, no proof. Before all these scions of noble families. Miss, dare you swear an oath? Liu Siyao knew the crown prince's temperament all too well. At this moment, she must make him swear an oath. With so many witnesses present, the dignity of the royal family was also at stake. Then he would not dare to go back on his word. From now on, I, Xie Hengyu, crown prince of Xie Hui, have no affection whatsoever for Liu Siyao. If I break this vow, may I suffer a wretched death. Liu Siyao felt greatly relieved. Finally, the marriage was cancelled. At this moment, the crowd buzzed with discussion. Xie Hengyu paid no heed to their reactions. Nor did he find Liu Siyao's response strange. After all, in the original book, Liu Siyao disliked him. Or one could even say she was truly repulsed by him. Any news that was unfavorable to the crown prince could make him happy for a long time. However, since the marriage was now cancelled, he had also sworn that he no longer had any affection for her. But that didn't mean he wouldn't try to destroy her and the male lead. After all, there was still that fated male protagonist To prevent this so-called number one scholar of the capital from living an unrestrained life of indulgence, Liu Siyao and the fated male lead had to die. A profound murderous glint flashed in Xie Hengyu's eyes. Since the author has cast me as the villain, then I shall be a powerful and unscrupulous villain. This was Liu Siyao reigning in her joyful smile. Xie Hengyu, I hope you can keep your promise, lest you meet an ill fate. Since the matter of canceling the marriage has been made clear, I shall take my leave first. Wait, you may go, but should you not return some things to me? Liu Siyao paused upon hearing this. What do you mean? Since we have called off the marriage, the jade bracelets on your wrists were my great-grandmother's, gifted to my would-be bride. They were the betrothal gift for my fiancé. But you are no longer my fiancé. Why do you still possess my belongings? Xie Hengyu paused briefly, then said, his gaze flickering, you had best be clear. I did not discuss the imperial marriage with you. There was a misunderstanding, and the gifts I gave at our betrothal. Miss Liu feels she need not return them to me. Faced with his harsh and cutting words, Liu Siyao was momentarily speechless, her flickering gaze unable to meet his. As she grew flustered, unable to defend herself, a stern voice suddenly rang out. Does the imperial grandson only know how to bully her? A man with an upright bearing came to stand by Liu Siyao's side. Huaiyu, why is he here? You did not know? This Lord Qin and Liu Siyao have been childhood friends. Relying on her betrothal to the imperial grandson and her reputation as the capital's foremost talents, Liu Siyao has often brought Lord Qin to social gatherings, intent on cultivating connections with the powerful. No wonder Liu Siyao wishes to break her betrothal. Her heart has long been taken, it seems. Qin Huaiyu is Liu's family's son-in-law. He stood proudly by Liu Siyao's side, his steady gaze fixed on Xie Heng. As the saying goes, spilled water cannot be reclaimed. Gifts once given cannot be taken back on a whim. Moreover, those things were willingly bestowed by the imperial grandson himself. On what grounds does he demand their return? Does his status as imperial allow him to behave so shamelessly, so capriciously? Liu Siyao looked gratefully at the man before her. Her beautiful eyes filled with joy, as she quietly let out a sigh of relief. Brother Baiyu, be careful. Do not let him bully you. Qin Huaiyu smiled slightly. I do not fear a little hardship. I cannot allow Yaoer to be humiliated in public. When Xie Hengyu discerned the newcomer's identity, his eyes narrowed slightly. So he is the protagonist from the story. It seems the hero has made his entrance. But what of it? The protagonist and the villain are destined to be mortal enemies. It remains to be seen. Who will perish first? Xie Hengyu stood with his hands behind his back. Let me first extinguish this romantic folly, he asked calmly. Who are you? And what is your relationship to Liu Siyao? He did not answer Qin Huaiyu's question, nor did he pay heed to the subtle affection between the two people before him. Qin Huaiyu wondered what insult the man of destiny had suffered. He straightened his not-so-broad chest. I know you are the crown prince, but please do not insult others at will. Indeed, it is the destiny written in the books. The male lead, without regard for right or wrong, pinned the crime of bullying and insulting others on himself, the villain, wantonly disgracing people. If this were to spread, his reputation as the capital's #1 wastrel would only become more unsavory. No wonder in the original book, after the male lead usurped the throne, he pinned one crime after another on the Xie clan, provoking public outrage. It seems he was accustomed to standing on his own ground and slandering them, his enemies on the path to success. Insulting me? When did I insult you? Xie Hengyu looked at Huaiyu, his haughty demeanor like a red plum braving the snow. He couldn't help but laugh dumbfounded. You appeared at the flower viewing banquet I hosted. Let me ask, who are you? How is that insulting you? He feigned contemplation, his gaze sweeping up and down in mockery. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a disdainful expression. Or is your name too shameful to speak? So anyone who asks your name is insulting you? Huaiyu prided himself on his lofty character, fearing no one of power or nobility. That was why he dared to stand up for his sense of justice. Moreover, he had always looked down on wastrels like Xie Hengyu, relying on their prestigious family background. Even as a scion of the Imperial clan, he was idle and unaccomplished. Little did Huaiyu expect, however, that wastrels had their own advantages. They could be unreasonable and shameless in any situation. A wastrel of Xie Hengyu's caliber, if he truly acted out, even the emperor would be powerless. Not to mention Xie Hengyu himself. His previous words were reasonable and flawless. Without the slightest error, Huaiyu realized it was futile to argue with a wastrel. He immediately adopted a disdainful air. It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is why you bullied Yao. Once again, he accused Xie Hengyu without basis. It was rather perplexing. How did such a man of destiny manage to overthrow the dynasty and usurp the throne? Were the villains in the book as brainless and foolish as he seemed to be? He smiled at this so-called man of destiny. How did I bully him? Huaiyu, upon hearing this, glanced around at the onlookers. Seeing that all eyes were on him, he felt that justice was on his side. He cleared his throat loudly. Your Highness the Crown Prince, you wantonly destroyed Yao's agile work, disregarding his efforts and feelings. In front of the scions of prestigious clans, the items that were to be sent out, disregarding the exhaustion of the lamb's body and mind, not allowing it to leave, yet one by one, piece by piece, was witnessed by all present. Is this not bullying? What else could it be? Huaiyu is indeed worthy of being the male lead. His skill at reversing black and white is truly first class. Xie Hengyu almost couldn't help himself. Extending his thumb up, he calmed himself slightly and questioned aloud, are you blind, deaf? Or both blind and deaf? Do you take the scions of noble families at the flower viewing banquet as fools for you to confuse right and wrong? What do you mean by disregarding Liu Siyao's reputation and causing a scene? It was she who disrespected the imperial decree for me to join the royal family and forced me to cancel the marriage at the flower viewing banquet held in the imperial gardens. And since the marriage is cancelled, I wish to have the betrothal gifts returned. Is there anything wrong with that? Not to mention the royal family. Even common people understand the etiquette of cancelling an engagement. How is this bullying? As the imperial grandson, must I become a wronged party, left with nothing? Huaiyu was speechless for a moment, then reacted coldly. The esteemed imperial grandson asked to have the gifts returned? Saying such words, are you not afraid of being mocked? Your reasoning is flawed. Slander is useless. Is this an attempt at moral kidnapping? Xie Hengyu looked coldly at Huaiyu, not bothering with his ranting, but turned his gaze to Liu Siyao. In an indifferent tone, he said, I'll ask you one last time. Will you return them or not? Liu Siyao hesitated. Hengyu had turned his attention to her, instinctively crossing her arms, quietly stepping back half a step. yet giving no reply. So you won't return them? Xie Hengyu let out a cold snort. He decided to no longer give the man and woman any face. Liu Siyao, listen carefully. What you must return is not just the pair of jade bracelets on your wrists. When the imperial grandfather decreed the marriage, he bestowed countless treasures upon the Liu family. Among them was not only this pair of bracelets, and also the phoenix crown that the imperial grandmother wore when she married the late emperor. My dear crown prince son was hopping about excitedly, presenting 66 gifts. You must return everything in full, thank you. Xie Fengyu pondered with a furrowed brow. I admire your expenditures over these 3 years. Not counting your fondness for the previous dynasty's calligraphy works, from which you borrowed an entire cart full of rare books. You said those books were merely borrowed, too. Xie Hengyu, recalling the gifts he had given to Liu Siyao, could barely resist the urge to slap himself twice. Paintings by the renowned masters of the previous dynasty. You claimed to borrow for copying, yet none have been returned. The Kanglin monastery in the suburbs was bestowed upon me. No matter who resides there, they must vacate within 2 days. As he said this, Xie Hengyu turned his gaze towards Huaiyu. I spent a fortune inviting the renowned scholar Zhang to tutor. Your incompetent younger brother in his studies. Master Zhang is advanced in age. He should retire. Upon hearing this, Huaiyu's expression turned cold. He sensed an insinuation in Xie Hengyu's words and realized that this imperial grandson intended to eliminate them utterly. The others, hearing Xie Hengyu's words, were first shocked, then disdainful. Their gazes towards the imperial grandson clearly reflected the words big bully. Then they reacted. TSK, Miss Liu is quite the noble one, isn't she? Claiming unwillingness to marry the crown prince, yet greedier than anyone when receiving gifts. Xie, calling it borrowing with no intent to return, eh? Why don't we visit the Liu residence tomorrow to borrow as well? No need to return once it's in our hands, right? We can simply say the same later on, but the poor Miss Liu still feels wronged, claiming the imperial grandson bullied her. The imperial grandson's status is to bully her? You're showing the Liu family too much face, the supposed prime talent of the capital. I'd say the prime talent lacks clarity of mind, unaware of her own standing, daring to defy the imperial grandson to his face. His Highness must have boundless patience. If it were me, I'd have punished her insolence severely long ago. Their taunting words could not escape Liu Siyao's ears. Especially that prime talent of the capital jibe felt like a silver needle piercing her brain. Clearly gifts given to me. How dare he demand their return? Xie Hengyu had no good intentions from the start. Requesting an imperial marriage, just to find this opportunity to insult me. Fine, you want it back? Liu Siyao won't bother with such things. With your fondness for fame, Liu Siyao, you can't withstand the disdainful murmurs around you. Hardening her heart, she removed the jade bangle from her wrist and flung it at Xie Hengyu. Take it all back, take it. Huaiyu, seeing this, wanted to stop her, but it was too late. But it was already too late. He met Xie Heng's seemingly amused yet not quite amused gaze. Seeing the darkness hidden in the depths of his eyes, his heart tightened. He wished to argue, but refrained. Was this the foolish man who would do anything for Liu Xian? The one who could endure any hardship for the sake of the crown prince? What alarmed Huaiyu even more was this flower-viewing banquet. It seemed to have deviated from the course of events in his memory. Indeed, Qin Huaiyu was a reincarnator in the original story. Relying on his memories from his previous life, he had been carefully maneuvering, step by step, reaching the pinnacle, becoming the emperor of that world. In his memory, Xie Hengyu did agree to call off the wedding at the banquet. But it was under Liu Siyao's unyielding attitude and the mockery of those present, leaving him with no choice. Moreover, he had never demanded the return of those rewards and gifts in public like this. By tomorrow, the crown prince would come crying to the Liu family, begging Liu Siyao to marry him. Under Liu Siyao's demand, he would promise that Qin Huaiyu would top the Imperial examination in 1 month's time, becoming the top scholar. How Xie Hengyu would achieve that? Qin Huaiyu wasn't quite sure. But he remembered that in the month before the Imperial examination, Master Zhang would draft several exam questions almost every day, letting him practice answering them diligently. Although Qin Huaiyu was now a reincarnator, naturally knowing the content of the questions, Master Zhang's pointed guidance did allow his writing skills to improve tremendously. Similarly, it was because of his memories from his previous life that Qin Huaiyu initially paid no heed to Liu Siyao's insistence on calling off the wedding at the banquet. It was only when Xie Hengyu demanded the return of the gifts that he realized those books, calligraphy, antiques, and tutors were crucial resources for his cultivation and exam preparation. Although he was confident he could still write the top-scoring essay as in his previous life, once the circumstances changed, the future would hold too many uncontrollable variables. The future. Of course, Xie Hengyu, the brainless villain of the story, would have no idea of Qin Huaiyu's reincarnator identity. Naturally, he knew nothing of Qin Huaiyu's inner turmoil. He calmly caught the jade thrown at him, waving his hand impatiently. "All right, you can all leave now. Remember to prepare the things I just mentioned. Tomorrow, I'll come with the Imperial decree to formally break the engagement, and don't think you can negotiate behind the scenes. My grandfather the Emperor and I. Every gift sent by the Crown Prince is accounted for." When he said that, Liu Siyao looked as if she had suffered a great grievance. Her eyes instantly turned red. "Humph, who cares about your broken things?" Liu Siyao stubbornly retorted. She pulled Qin Huaiyu's hand. "Huaiyu Zhe, let's go!" Qin Huaiyu's heart was still lingering on Xie Hengyu's transformation. For a moment, he was dazed. She noticed Qin Huaiyu's abnormality. Liu Siyao bit her red lips lightly. "Don't worry, Huaiyu Zhe. I'll find a better place than Kanglin Yuan for you to study, and let you read books. I'll also have my father find a famous scholar from the Imperial Academy, who will definitely be better than the one he sent." Huaiyu's face changed colors repeatedly. He hardly pulled Liu Siyao's slender waist and left in a rush. The surrounding onlookers, upon hearing Liu Siyao's final words, immediately raised an uproar. The looks they gave Xie Hengyu had the 3 words "great injustice" almost written on the face of the current crown prince. Tisk. No wonder he doesn't want to return things. It turns out they were all used to keep a little white face. Our crown prince is really hard up. The marriage hasn't even happened yet, but the green hat has already been put on. The crown prince is really courting death. That Qin Huaiyu is really shameless. No wonder he tried to stop it. It turns out all those things have ended up in his hands. Humph, he takes the benefits, while others do the dirty work. Openly taking advantage and eating the soft rice. Really shameless. Amidst the ceaseless taunting voices, Qin Huaiyu and Liu Siyao left like a pair of homeless dogs, their retreating figures utterly wretched. Xie Hengyu quietly watched the to leave. "Don't rush away," he said with a smile. "This is only the beginning." In the study room, the founding emperor of the Great Chu Dynasty, Xie Hui, held a chess piece, remaining silent for a long time. Sitting opposite him was a silly-looking fat man, who was none other than the current crown prince Xie Hengyu's own father, Xie Yunchen. "Father Emperor, this is no fun. If you don't make a move, your son will go back to the palace." "What a nightmare!" Xie Hui glared at his son. As the founding emperor, Xie Hui had stepped over countless corpses to ascend the throne. Although he was old now, a murderous aura still emanated from his entire being. Coupled with the majesty of a ruler, even a casual glance could chill someone to the bone. Even his own son was frightened by that look. Seeing his reaction, Xie Hui sighed lightly and said as gently as possible, "When your father started the uprising all those years ago, you were still a baby. We fought battles for over a decade, with you suffering by our side." Crown Prince Xie Yunchen shook his head. "I didn't suffer. Ha ha, luckily." Gazing at her features that bore a resemblance to the late empress, he let out a bitter laugh. Forget it, forget it. Only the prince's manner remains." Upon hearing this, Xie Yunchen felt as if granted a grand pardon. He hurriedly stood up, trembling. "Your son takes his leave. Go on, go on." Xie Hui watched his son's plump, slow-moving figure depart, his gaze narrowing slightly. With a desolate expression, he let out a long sigh. "This prince I've instated has everything going for him, except he's too timid. But who is to blame? Back when I led the uprising, Xie Yunchen, as a babe in arms, followed me through the killing and plundering. Day after day, all he saw were mountains of corpses and rivers of blood. There were even times we were trapped in the woods. And were it not for heaven's blessings, he may well have perished amidst the chaos. It is precisely for this reason that Xie Yunchen grew up surrounded by blades and bloodshed, his courage diminishing bit by bit. And when peace was restored to the realm, and he was invested as the Prince of Su, the lingering fear in his heart took hold. Xie Yunchen began eating and drinking excessively, until he grew into the plump figure he is today. Perhaps deep in Xie Yunchen's heart, only by eating his fill, fattening himself up, could he muster the strength to overcome his inner fears. A high-pitched cry of "Long live the Emperor!" Lord Gao slipped silently into the Imperial study, gently rousing the Emperor from his contemplation. Emperor Xie Hui's dragon eyes shot open, 7 golden rays flashing forth. The Imperial flower banquet had concluded. Xie Hui withdrew his gaze, his expression softening slightly. "That little rascal Hengyu hasn't caused any trouble, has he?" Lord Gao's eyes crinkled with a smile. Not only did the crown prince not cause trouble, but in front of the nobility's young lords and ladies, he broke off his betrothal to the Liu family. "What did you say?" Lord Gao detected a trace of surprise in the emperor's raised tone, and hurriedly recounted all that had occurred in the imperial gardens. Not only did the crown prince break his betrothal, he demanded the return of all gifts bestowed by your majesty and the crown prince, as well as monies and goods he'd given Miss Liu over these past years. Good, good. Emperor Xie Hui's expression brightened. "I knew it. That boy was just infatuated. That little brat Pengyu was just momentarily infatuated. He begged us to grant him a marriage. Isn't that so?" Lord Gao has served the emperor for many years. Naturally, he knows what the emperor wishes to hear. Now that the imperial grandson has come to his senses, it is not in vain that your majesty has taken the trouble for him. However, Lord Gao hesitantly glanced up. He wanted to speak but stopped himself. "However, what?" The emperor's resolute disposition could not stand hesitation. Just spit it out if you have something to say. Lord Gao smiled awkwardly. Your servant is concerned that at the flower viewing banquet, the imperial grandson was pressured by that miss from the Liu family, leading him to withdraw from the marriage in a fit of anger. Your Majesty knows. The prince has admired Miss Liu for many years. His affections for her run deep, though I am but a commoner without standing, unknowledgeable in matters of love. I do know that, even raising a pet cat or dog, one finds it difficult to let go at times. Upon hearing this, the emperor's earlier joy instantly dissipated like smoke. What you say is not without reason. The emperor pondered for a moment, but you know the temperament of that brat Hengyu. Once he sets his mind on something, not even 10 oxen could turn him back. Lord Gao, recalling the scene of Hengyu begging the emperor to grant the marriage, could not help but look inscrutable. Your Majesty, why not discuss this with the crown prince? The crown prince ... double quotes. The emperor shook his head wearily. No, never mind. If the empress were still here, she could surely handle that brat Hengyu. I would not have to worry and fret so. Recalling the late empress, a hint of tenderness emerged in the emperor's steely gaze. Lord Gao gazed at the emperor for a long while. He too knew there was no easy solution to the matter of the imperial grandson. He could only stand by helplessly, silently attending to the emperor's needs. After the flower viewing banquet ended, Xie Hengyu returned to his own mansion. As the grandson of the emperor, theoretically, he could reside within the imperial palace. But as the head of the foremost princely house in the capital, living in the palace, how could he be as unrestrained as in his own secluded manner? Especially with old Huang, scowling all day long, as if Xie owed him 800 taels of silver. He had to watch his every move. But upon returning to the manor, Xie strode through, drawing astonished looks from the servants, and for once headed straight into the study, without emerging for a long time. Once inside, he sprawled shamelessly, legs up on the desk, bouncing restlessly, racking his brains over his regrets. A profligate is a profligate. Most of Xie Lincoln's memories were of food, drink, and revelry, with the rest mostly concerning Liu Siyao. As for the male lead, Huaiyu, how he gradually rose up and seized the throne, Xie Lincoln knew precious little. What to do was he, the great villain, fated to wait for the male lead to usurp the throne, seize his realm, and bed his woman? Just because he's the villain. Does a villain not deserve to live? Must he be capped in shame? Were it not for the risk that disposing of the male lead's support could lead to global destruction, in this world without a protagonist, bringing calamity, even upon himself as a character within, Xie Hengyu would gladly use his princely powers to snuff out Huaiyu's life right now. He was tearing at his hair in frustration, wishing he could prise open his skull to see what was inside this brain of his. They say to prevail, one must know both oneself and one's enemy, but he did not have the first inkling. This was bad. He hadn't a single lead to go on. As he stewed, Xie Hengyu suddenly remembered the 3 startling cobblers. 3 heads as good as Zhuge Liang's? Well, these startling cobblers would have to do. Servants, come at once! The attendant Zudai, waiting at the study door, hurried inside. Your Highness summons? You fool! Xie Hengyu, remembering the eunuch's ridiculous name, nearly burst out laughing. Struggling to keep a straight face, he ordered, go fetch Zhao Yunhe and Hu Yaozong for me at once. What? But ... Xie Xie Hengyu flung out the brush in his hand. Upon hearing this, Su Da was overcome with emotion. What is this? Xie Hengyu grabbed a wolf-hair brush nearby and flung it out. Do my words as the imperial grandson carry no weight? This servant obeys your command. Su Da sighed inwardly. The imperial grandson's capricious temperament was well known. He hurried outside to instruct someone to summon those two young masters. It was no wonder that Su Da had laughed at first. Those two young masters. Yes, them. The notorious scoundrels. In the capital city, there was a legend spreading about the ghosts feel vexed. The so-called ghosts feel vexed referred to the imperial grandson Xie Hengyu from the Wenku lineage, Lord Zhao Yunque of Anting County, and the young general Hu Yaozong. Zhao Yunque and Hu Yaozong were signs of two illustrious families that helped found the dynasty. They had been close friends with Xie Hengyu since childhood, inseparable like brothers who peed in the same pit. An imperial grandson, two young masters from meritorious families. These three buddies stuck together like glue. Even within the imperial palace, they could walk about unrestrained. Fortunately, the three were raised with strict family discipline. They dared not bully the weak or mistreat servant girls. However, tormenting young gentlemen and flirting with noble ladies, whenever they were bored, they would frequent brothels and drink excessively without restraint. Moreover, as signs of prestigious families, they took pride in their ancestral exploits, disdaining and looking down upon each other. Their competitive natures led to fierce rivalries, ranging fights and ambushes. Attacking and betraying one another was commonplace. In severe cases, their quarrels even reached the emperor's ears. And Xie Hengyu, along with his two brothers, were amongst the greatest troublemakers and rabble-rousers. Once, they vexed the emperor so greatly that he condemned them as "You three brats. Ghosts would feel vexed seeing you." And thus, the moniker Ghosts Feel Vexed became renowned. From this moment on, the three words Ghost Seer rose to prominence. At the same time, in the hall of the Liu family in the capital city, a slightly thin middle-aged man in splendid attire was seated in the center. He was none other than the father of Liu Siyao, the current imperial censor. Liu Wentao stood in the hall, having just returned from the flower-viewing banquet, disheveled and dusty, accompanied by Liu Siyao and Huaiyu. At this moment, tears glistened in Liu Siyao's beautiful eyes, as if she had suffered a great grievance. Liu Wentao sat upright in the main seat, his gaze turning towards his softly sobbing daughter, his face full of self-importance. He scolded her impatiently, crying, "That's all you know how to do. Who allowed you to take it upon yourself to break off the engagement with the imperial grandson?" Liu Wentao found them both vexing. He was well aware of the Liu family's circumstances. If the imperial grandson had not taken a fancy to his future son-in-law, with his own meager talents and abilities, not to mention becoming an imperial censor of the 5th rank, even securing a minor position in the Hanlin Academy, would have been akin to their ancestral tombs emitting green smoke. Moreover, just a few days ago in the imperial court, the emperor had intentionally or unintentionally mentioned that when the imperial grandson married, he, as the groom's family member, would certainly be entrusted with an important role. Furthermore, given the current circumstances, the emperor was already advanced in age, and his abilities had greatly diminished. He had already harbored thoughts of abdicating. The crown prince was frequently ill, unfit for such a heavy responsibility. The imperial grandson, Xie Hengyu, was deeply favored by the emperor. How could he not directly ascend the throne and become emperor? So the emperor's bestowal of a marriage to the imperial grandson meant she would become the future empress. But his own daughter had behaved foolishly during the outing, and the imperial grandson had even made a fuss about breaking off the engagement. It was simply too unwise. Seeing her father's attitude, Liu Siyao stopped sobbing. Her voice was soft, yet tinged with resentment and grievance. "Father, the imperial grandson is simply a wastrel. I don't like him at all. Why must I marry him?" He's nothing but an useless idler relying on his status as royalty. I would sooner die than marry him. In Liu Siyao's heart, Xie Hengyu could never compare to the man by her side, Qin Huaiyu. Although Qin Huaiyu was the Liu family's adopted son, he was ambitious and highly talented. His erudition was extraordinary. He had the best chance of being the top scholar in the upcoming imperial examinations. Moreover, they had grown up together as childhood friends, without any secrets between them. He knew how to care for others. In Qin Huaiyu's presence, she felt a gentle warmth, like a cool breeze, utterly unlike the disdain she felt when encountering Ghost Xirshu around the capital. For him, she felt nothing but loathing, pure, unmitigated loathing. Unlike Liu Siyao, whose mind was filled with romantic fancies, Qin Huaiyu did not harbor such naive ideals. He listened intently, for this man was destined to ascend the throne. How could he sacrifice such an opportunity for mere youthful infatuation? At this thought, thinking of this, Qin Huaiyu stepped forward, standing before Liu Wentao. Father, I don't think it has reached an irreversible point yet. Upon hearing this, a glimmer of lightness flashed in Liu Wentao's clouded eyes. Qin Huaiyu continued, although the crown prince is obstinate, he is deeply in love with Yaoer. At the flower appreciation banquet, he agreed to cancel the marriage, mainly for fear of losing face in front of the aristocratic scions. I've thought about tomorrow. Not only will the crown prince not demand the bride price back, he will also bring a generous gift and ask Yaoer to marry him. Qin Huaiyu's tone was assured, as if he had it all planned out. After all, he had the experience from his past life. He knew Xie Hengyu's deep love for Liu Siyao. He would never easily give up this marriage. Hearing Qin Huaiyu's words, Liu Wentao's expression improved slightly. Thinking of this adopted son of his over the years, he always displayed extraordinary vision and insight beyond his years. He had complete faith in his words. Liu Wentao nodded slowly. Baiyu has always been farsighted, unlike my unruly second daughter, who acts recklessly without any regard for her status as a married woman and her pregnancy. However, since you brought up canceling the marriage today, when the crown prince comes tomorrow, you must handle the situation deftly, feigning reluctance. Once he admits his mistake, the marriage can proceed. Also, I heard the crown prince recently obtained some calligraphy from a renowned scholar of the previous dynasty. You should have the crown prince bring it over for me to appreciate, my son. Liu Siyao's gaze darkened upon hearing this. Her eyes dimmed slightly. Qin Huaiyu naturally knew what she was thinking. He reassured her softly, Yaoer, don't be disheartened. It's less than a month until the Imperial examination. Being able to study under Master Zhang at the Kanglan Academy, my chances of becoming the top scholar have greatly increased. Once I attain the status of top scholar, I will request an imperial marriage decree from the emperor. You also know, Yaoer. As Qin Huaiyu spoke these words, an air of pride emanated from his entire being. My ambition is to serve in the court. I am no philanderer, to be compared with those idle aristocrats. I am merely not ennobled yet, so I can only ask you and the crown prince to be patient for now. Once my ambition is realized, I will stand with you at the summit and make all those who looked down on you pay the price. Liu Siyao gazed at the ambitious Qin Huaiyu, her eyes shining. I believe that Huaiyu will certainly achieve his aspirations. Yaoer has no worries. I, Qin Huaiyu, never break my word. Receiving the answer she wanted, Liu Siyao's heart filled with joy. Her gaze towards Qin Huaiyu was filled with affection. Witnessing this scene, a hint of a smile appeared in Liu Wentao's murky eyes. The Liu family forging ties with the Imperial clan was naturally a welcome prospect for Liu Wentao, though he wasn't quite clear what the grand ambition and vengeance mentioned by Qin Huaiyu actually referred to, as long as his daughter agreed to marry the Imperial grandson. She could become the future empress. He was already satisfied. What he didn't know was, if things continued on the predetermined path, he, Liu Wentao, would become the first person with two happy families living in harmony. Meanwhile, Xie Hengyu was waiting and waiting in the study until the lamps were lit. Zhao Yunhe and Hu Yaozong, the two dreadful empresses, came stumbling in. Big brother, didn't you go preside over the flower viewing banquet in the Imperial garden? Why are you calling for us so urgently? Little General, the Hu clan was the first marshal of the founding of the Great Chu Dynasty, descendants of Bahai. Like his grandfather, Hu Yaozong has a similar build. He was born like a small plum blossom, intoxicated by the wine. He was woken from his daze by a thunderous voice, nearly falling off his chair. He wiped the drool from the corner of his mouth, then looked up. Zhao Yunhe wore a white brocade robe, her face like carved jade, red lips and white teeth. Her narrow phoenix eyes flashed with golden light. An aura of gloom emanated from her entire being. Hu Yaozong still wore black, like a black tower, one white, one black, not unlike the messengers of death. No wonder they were called the dreadful duo. Looking at these two before him, Xie Hengyu couldn't help but admire them a little. He shook his head helplessly. Big brother asked me and the third brother to come. Is there something going on? Zhao Yunhe's gaze, her habitual frown, and the gloomy tone in which she spoke. Is there something up? Of course there is something, and it's a matter of life and death. Xie Hengyu raised his hand, gesturing for his two younger brothers to sit down. Second brother, third brother, I do have something I want to discuss with you too. Without believing it, he asked loudly himself, Elder brother, just say what it is directly. Which little brat is feeling itchy again? If we don't make that brat cry for his dad and mom, I'll have third brother and his beloved third brother. Don't get anxious, Zhao Yunhe said calmly. Let elder brother speak slowly. Slowly, what slowly? Hu Yaozong was like to blazing lamps. When have the three of us not caused trouble? In the end, wasn't it always elder brother shouldering it for us? Now that elder brother has something, older Hu, must not decline. Zhao Yunhe remained unhurried, forming a stark contrast with Hu Yaozong's character. Look at you, already at the age of taking a wife, yet still so impatient. The three brothers had different personalities, but when it came to causing trouble, their roles were quite set. Old Third, who provided the physical force, his iron fists renowned throughout the capital. No young master could defeat him. Zhao Yunhe was meticulous in his thoughts. Every underhanded and damaging scheme came from his hand. As the imperial grandson, Xie Hengyu's status was unmatched in the capital. Only when things got too out of hand would his imperial grandfather, disregarding royal dignity, rain whiplashes down upon those noble princes who dared complain before him, leaving the court officials and nobility dumbstruck. That was why Hu Yaozong just said that for all the troubles the three caused, it was always Xie Hengyu who silently bore the consequences. That's just how it is. Don't be restless. You're the same, second brother. His face was full of defiance. My grandfather and father never scolded me. Besides you and elder brother, who dares scold me? What if your wife dares to in the future? Zhao Yunhe glanced at old Third Hu, saying slyly, haven't you heard? The vicious have their ways. Think about your father. Your grandfather, your clan. Who has the final say now? I said don't be stubborn. Recalling his grandfather and father's submissiveness at home, Hu Yaozong suddenly wilted like a frost-bitten eggplant. Xie Hengyu had remained silent the whole time, but as he looked at his two bickering brothers, their words were full of endearment. Zhao Yunhe sensed his elder brother's inner turmoil. He stared at old third, saying, "With your status as the imperial grandson, what matter could make you so hesitant?" Xie Hengyu heard the subtle annoyance in second brother's words. Taking a deep breath, he said, "If I wanted to rebel, bringing you two brothers along, what do you think our chances of success would be?" Theft, though usually calm, Zhao Yunhe was so startled by Xie Hengyu's words that he spat out a mouthful of blood 3 zhang away. "Elder brother, are you joking with us? Don't speak in the literary language." Hu Yaozong's eyes were bulging out like copper bells from their sockets. "Rebelling, that's quite an idea. We brothers have played every game in the capital, caused every kind of trouble. It seems rebelling is the only thing left untried." Theft, Zhao Yunhe spat out another mouthful of blood 3 zhang away. "Third brother, what are you blabbering about? If our elder brother weren't the imperial grandson himself, I wouldn't even dare repeat those words just now. Saying it plainly, that's a crime punishable by execution of 9 kinships." Xie Hengyu let out a light laugh, shaking his head at Zhao Yunhe. "Second brother, I'm not joking. Let me explain. Elder brother, be quiet first." Zhao Yunhe glared sternly at old third Hu, his expression solemn. "Let elder brother speak. Don't keep interrupting and shut your mouth." Yet his dark eyes could not conceal the eager anticipation within. "When I said rebelling, I didn't mean it literally. That the 3 of us brothers join hands to overthrow the Great Chu Dynasty." Xie Hengyu's expression gradually turned serious. "What I mean is, I want you two brothers to help me gradually build up power to control the court, in preparation for any eventuality. As for his own reincarnation, he definitely could not tell these two brothers, nor could he mention the future uprising and his successful usurpation of the throne, not to hide any affection, but because he had taken no action yet. He was still the original male lead destined for the throne. If he revealed too much and accidentally provoked some backlash, this villain might get eliminated prematurely. But there were still some things he could tell his good brothers. "You both know our imperial grandfather is quite old now. To speak somewhat disrespectfully, our imperial grandfather has long lost his power. He has had thoughts of abdicating the throne. And you know what my crown prince father is like. His nature is pure and kind. If he ascends the throne smoothly, he will surely govern diligently. A wise and virtuous emperor for our Qin." As Xie Hengyu spoke these words, Zhao Yunhe and Hu Yaozong both nodded in agreement. Once the crown prince takes the throne, he will surely be a renowned ruler. Our royal uncle has a good temper. Whenever we caused trouble, at most he would reprimand us mildly. When the emperor punished us harshly, it was always our royal uncle who pleaded leniency. Xie Hengyu nodded, continuing, "But I fear my crown prince father's health may not last until that day comes. Over these years of excessive eating and drinking, his body has long borne too much burden. But this is a secret the imperial clan has not made public. Even if you to know it in your hearts, you cannot speak of it freely. As for my father's condition, is it still a secret outside the court? For now, yes, it is. Inside and outside the court, no one dare speak openly out of respect for his crown prince status. Nothing more than that. But as the imperial grandson, I cannot feign ignorance. I cannot pretend I know nothing." I cannot pretend to know nothing, Xie Hengyu continued. His expression turned grave. Once our imperial grandfather passes away, and my crown prince father is unable to ascend the throne ... My father cannot control the court due to his physical condition. Do you two brothers think that with my status as a prince, under the current circumstances, I can firmly secure the reign of the Xie kingdom? Our great Xie has only been established for less than 20 years, with countless troubles remaining. Internal conflicts are not yet resolved. Apart from the court, who knows how many eyes are fiercely watching the imperial throne of my grandfather? To speak frankly, if I remain as incompetent as I am now, when I ascend the throne, it will be the day of Xi's downfall. Xie Hengyu's words were like a thunderclap, instantly stunning his two brothers, leaving them dumbfounded. Wu Yaozong laughed foolishly twice. My grandfather followed the emperor in battles across the land since he was just a teenager, slaying countless enemy generals. As long as my grandfather is here, I dare anyone to breathe a word of dissent. As for me, old Hu III, I won't say much else, but whoever dares to rebel, old master Hu will twist off his head and use it to cover my brother's eyes. Xie Hengyu shook his head. Third brother, what is our grandfather's current official position? Xie Hengyu, the crown prince, inquired. Does he command any troops? Don't be delusional, brother. My grandfather was once the emperor's most formidable general. All the troops in the world, except for the emperor himself, had to listen to my grandfather's command. They all listened to grandfather. Does he still possess military tallies and command arrows? Xie Hengyu guided. Wu Yaozong's grandfather, Huaiyu, handed over the military tallies and command arrows to our grandfather at the very beginning of the establishment of the Xie kingdom. Although he holds the position of Grand Marshal, he cannot mobilize a single soldier or officer. Second brother, why were you granted the title of the Duke of Anping? Zhao Yunhe met the gaze of the crown prince, his older brother, with a flicker of emotion. The ducal title of Anping was requested by my grandfather from the emperor on his deathbed, hoping that I would live a peaceful life. Your grandfather was our grandfather's military strategist, playing an instrumental role in Xi's establishment today. Yet why did he seek such a humble title for you? Not only did he request a modest ducal title for you, but your very name, Zhao Yunhe, also implies living an ordinary and peaceful life, like a wild crane roaming freely in the clouds. He finally understood Xie Hengyu's intention. Elder brother, you are unworthy of being a prince. Apart from us two brothers, you have no one else you can rely on, and the two of us are of no use in supporting you to ascend the throne and control the court. Xie Hengyu did not want to admit it, but the truth was as such. You're right, Xie Hengyu confessed. Today, I invited you to discuss together how we can one day truly control the court and ensure the continued stability of the kingdom established by our ancestors. Zhao Yunhe fell silent. All was calm and peaceful. Why has Zhao Yunhe fallen silent? Don't play dumb. Xie Hengyu to return to a dazed state, squinting his eyes, saying not a word. Where are those three bumbling cobblers? The three kings who cried for decades are now making fools of themselves. It is truly so. What a vexing situation. Zhao Yunhe is undoubtedly the wisest of the three. After a long silence, he finally had an idea. Elder brother, even if third brother wants to rebel, we must know. In this situation, what matter could compel us to rebel? To stand on undefeated ground? Why don't we imitate the ancients? Write on our palms the most important thing we believe in. If the three of us share the same thought, we must accomplish it at all costs. It matters not if it is father or son. The same excited light flashed in their eyes. Second brother is right. Xie Hengyu pondered for a moment. I also think the plan second brother proposed is sound. Though Hu Yaozong has not read many books, He has taken on this important responsibility. After a moment, the three brothers each grasped a palm, turned away, and wrote on their palms what they believed. "Are you done writing?" Xie Yunchen put down his brush, clenching his fist. He asked aloud, "Are you done? Don't loosen your grip." He grinned and said, "I finished long ago. I'll count to 3, and we 3 brothers will turn and reveal what we've written on our palms." "Listen to the eldest," Zhao and Hu said in unison. Xie Hengyu restrained his excited feelings. 1, 2, 3, as the words left his lips. The 3 turned and revealed their palms. But when the 3 brothers saw each other's writings, they all showed expressions of surprise. 3 men, 3 words. Not a single one was the same. Unexpectedly, Xie Yunchen had written force. He felt power was the most crucial matter at hand. As for Xie Hengyu, he gradually recalled his ambitions to rise step by step in status. He believed talent was key for the brothers' rebellion. 1 force, 1 power, 1 talent, sing worry. The 3 brothers looked at each other. Each saw uncertainty and despair in the other's eyes. In truth, none of the 3 was wrong. To rebel. Without soldiers, power, or talent, nothing could be accomplished. But now, what they urgently needed was a breakthrough, a catalyst to set their rebellion smoothly in motion. "Elder brother, why do you think it's talent?" Xie Yunchen's mind raced. He realized his eldest brother, as the imperial grandson, would not write talent without reason. Under heaven, none outranked him. Under the canopy of heaven ... None other than the sovereign ruler. He wanted to acquire. Still he wanted more and more. Xie Hengyu pondered for a moment, then spoke up. "Now is not the time for dynastic change. Be it soldiers or power ... The 3 of us have enough military funds to raise an army and rebel, do we not? As for the canine emperor ... Since his ascension, though claiming to embrace a policy of recovery ... Years of warfare and turmoil ... cannot be undone in a mere decade or 2. And those so-called pillars of state ... are all blinded by money. I believe with enough funds ... not to mention benefiting the state ... we could also bribe a great number of officials when the time comes to rebel ... with 1 million soldiers without, and power over the court within ... Success is assured." Hearing this, Xie Yunchen narrowed his eyes slightly, sinking into contemplation, though Hu Yaozong only half understood, seeing his second brother's expression, and obediently kept his mouth shut. After a long pause, the eldest Xie Yunchen slowly opened his narrow eyes. This may not be too difficult after all. Xie Hengyu had been waiting for these words. His previously drowsy mind instantly cleared. Xie Yunchen and his grandfather, the former Zhao siblings, were renowned for their stellar intellect. The former Chu Emperor Xie Hui and General Zhao Jingshu could command from behind the scenes and win thousands of miles away, though he and his younger brother were young. Like this crown prince, they were already known in the capital as genius troublemakers. For a dragon begets a dragon, a phoenix, usually Xie Yunchen only sought pleasure. But when called upon, his mind was extraordinarily capable. "Brother, what strategy do you have?" he asked modestly. "Not a strategy per se ... but I can resolve your urgent need." Xie Yunchen mimicked their grandfather's manner, swaying his head as he spoke slowly. "Have you ... Heard of the northern tycoon publicly seeking a husband? The Liu family of the north? Yes, Xie Yunchen said unhurriedly, the fabulously wealthy northern Liu family. The patriarch Liu Feng has but one daughter. Liu Yunlin, his heir. He is seeking a husband for her. Openly in the capital, but has yet to find a suitable match. Hu Yaozong scratched his head. Perhaps his daughter is hideously ugly. And thus no one wishes to marry her? Zhao Yunyi shook his head. Her looks are perfectly acceptable. But those of nobility in the capital. Consider it beneath them. Before Hu could finish, Xie Hengyu cut him off. Brother speaks the truth. Among the aristocracy and officialdom here, who would let their son? Zhao Yunyi gave a disdainful snort. Become a husband in a merchant family? From prominent official families, who would allow their precious sons to become a live-in son-in-law in a merchant's household? Those of humble origins, the Liu family looked down upon, so this marriage had not been settled until now. The Liu family of Jiangbei was seeking a son-in-law. Xie Hengyu's heart stirred slightly. He slowly closed his eyes. He recalled that if following the original book's trajectory, tomorrow he would visit Liu Siyao's family, not to fulfill the marriage vow, but with his own imperial grandson status, and Liu Wentao's, Liu Siyao's father, intimidating presence. Liu Siyao would eventually marry him. Then who would the protagonist Huaiyu marry? His grandmother forced him. I remember now. Xie Hengyu slapped his thigh suddenly. He stood up from the chair abruptly. You, the wealthiest of Jiangbei, I have decided on you. What's going on? Zhao Yunhe and Hu Yaozong stared wide-eyed at the exhilarated imperial grandson. Big brother, did you get your wand, big brother? No wonder you want to rebel. You got a magic wand. Xie Hengyu glared at Hu. Third uncle, I want to marry Liu Yunlin from the Liu family. He gradually recalled some key points. A month later, Qin Hui would top the imperial examination, the top scholar, with his new status on the imperial court. He would request the emperor for a marriage decree. The details of that decree Xie Hengyu could not recall, but one thing was certain. From then on, Qin Hui shed his impoverished scholar image, becoming a nouveau rich of the capital's aristocratic families. Xie Hengyu had seen him a few times, adorned in brocades and jade, gold and silver inlaid. He looked more affluent than Xie, the imperial grandson. If he missed Qin Hui's jade, he would most likely marry the Jiangbei tycoon's daughter. Seeing Xie Hengyu's resolute expression, Zhao Yunhe advised, the Liu family is seeking a live-in son-in-law. As the imperial grandson, Your Highness, how could you marry into the Liu family? Exactly, Hu the third uncle nodded vigorously. If you marry into their family, the emperor would break your legs. Plus, I've heard, although the Liu family are merchants, their criteria for a son-in-law is extremely strict. They want a top scholar talent, unmatched, unparalleled, one amongst tens of thousands, one in a million. Xie Hengyu spat disdainfully. What top scholar talent? What unmatched and paralleled? I, Xie Hengyu, the imperial grandson, the future emperor of Xie, who dares defy me? As Xie Hengyu spoke, he gradually exuded a regal aura. Not just marrying a Liu daughter. Whomever I desire. Who dares say no to the imperial grandson? Zhao Yunhe narrowed his eyes, pondering. He felt that his elder brother had a point. Zongzi nodded in deep agreement. Big brother is right. Big brother has taken a liking to you. That's a great honor for their family. Only the third brother understands me. Xie Hengyu chuckled. The aura of a conqueror faded within 3 seconds. vanishing like smoke and clouds. I've decided. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to the Liu family and retrieve my belongings. Then, with those belongings as betrothal gifts, I'll head straight to Jiangbei Road and seize a bride. Upon hearing the word seize, Wu Yaozong's interest was immediately piqued. What should my second brother and I do to help? Xie Hengyu pondered for a moment. Third brother. Since we three brothers have decided to create a ruckus, we can't keep idling like before. Second brother, you'll have to work hard. Find out where the Liu family in Jiangbei Road lives, and whether their daughter is at home. Third brother, you have dozens of grown men in your mansion. Have them wear the same uniforms tomorrow. At high noon tomorrow, we'll gather in front of the Liu family's gate. This grandson of the emperor will first cancel the betrothal, then seize the bride. That will be the first step towards visiting old man Huang. Late into the night, the Yangshan palace in the Imperial palace was still brightly lit. The emperor of the Chu kingdom, Xie Hui, looked weary, yet he still pored over the memorials in his hands by candlelight. Now and then, he would pick up the red cinnabar ink, encircle or mark the memorials. Lord Gao noticed the emperor's fatigue and gently advised, "Your Majesty, it's rather late now. You should rest soon." Almost done. Xie Hui pointed to the pile of memorials, over a foot high. It'll take another hour or so to finish today's stack. Lord Gao wanted to say more but held back, swallowing the words he didn't utter. Once today's are done, tomorrow's will pile up like mountains again. Day after day, endlessly. When will it end? They say being emperor is great, but only those serving by the emperor's side know how difficult it is to be a good emperor. Lord Gao saw the emperor's graying hair and sighed quietly. He then turned and left the Yangshan palace, urging the Imperial kitchen to quickly send some revitalizing tea. After waiting a moment outside, Lord Gao took the teacup from a young eunuch. He noticed two senior eunuchs, Su Shangji, approaching hurriedly. "Greetings, Lord Gao." "Lord Su, His Majesty hasn't rested yet." Lord Gao nodded. "When has our emperor ever rested? In this world?" He glanced at the item in Su Shang's hand. Su Shang gripped it tightly. "Go in and attend to His Majesty. Serve him the revitalizing tea." With the teacup, Su Shang entered the Yangshan palace. As he walked in, he heard Lord Gao order the doors closed behind him. He walked up to the study table. First, he presented the herbal tea for nourishing life. The emperor took a sip to refresh himself. Su Shang and Xie Hui heard voices nearby and raised their heads from the memorials. Su Shang, in a hurry, glanced at the herbal tea in his hand. Xie Hui frowned slightly. "Your Majesty, here it is. I asked you to present everything." Following the order, Su Shang placed the teacup aside and respectfully offered the sealed confidential documents. Xie Hui took the documents, broke the wax seal, and took out a small note from inside. The writing on it was dense and tiny. He had to squint and bring it close to the candlelight to read clearly. As he read, his furrowed brow gradually relaxed. His gaze in the candlelight became brighter. "Ha ha ha!" Xie Hui uttered 3 delighted exclamations, then burst into hearty laughter, as if venting all the vexations in his heart. The chief eunuch Gao Yigao had heard this rare laughter and hurried in upon the emperor's summons. He rushed through the palace gate and ran to the hall, crying, "Your humble servant is here. Quickly move all these memorials to the study chamber." so His Majesty may retire. What is it? Xie Hui shouted angrily. This fool wants to eavesdrop. Do you need to watch my expression? Your humble servant dares not. Then get to it quickly, Xie Hui said, and brought the small note to the candlelight to burn it. Su Sheng, you may retire as well. Gao Yi Gao can attend to me here. Yes, your humble servant takes his leave. Gao Yi Gao picked up the memorials, but saw many more piled on the study table. He said angrily to Su Sheng, help me carry them, so the emperor may retire early. The two eunuchs, though unaware of the confidential content, seeing the emperor's delighted expression, felt gratified in their hearts. The emperor was at ease, and the lamps in the palace gradually dimmed. The next day, as the morning court bell rang in the palace, 3 groups appeared on the quiet streets at dawn. They set out from different places, but had one destination: the residence of Liu Endao, the censorate minister. Big brother, big brother. The 3 groups converged before the Liu residence. Zhao Yunque was in white, Hu Yaozong in black, while Xi Fengrui wore crimson red. He first looked at Hu Yaozong, eyeing the dozens of sturdy young men behind him, then the carriages Zhao Yunque had prepared. The grandson of the great strategist is indeed meticulous. His thinking is so thorough. He knew the crown prince would come to move things today, and even prepared carriages. Second brother, third brother, you two wait outside for now. I'll go in first. Xie Hengyu dismounted his horse and strode towards the Liu residence. The Liu servants recognized the crown prince and did not dare stop him. The steward led the way ahead, with nimble-footed servants following behind. They hurried in flustered haste to the inner courtyard pavilion. At this time, many onlookers had gathered around the Liu residence, each of them craning their necks to gaze towards the Liu household. A rare sight to behold, it seemed. The imperial grandson. Has he come to fetch his bride? I reckon he has, to fetch his bride. Did you not see the prince in his grand red wedding attire? Nonsense! Look at the strapping young men behind old Hu. This is no wedding to be had. Indeed, he has come to raid and plunder. True, the carriage behind is empty. Are they not here to cart away the dowry? Hey, have you not heard? At the Imperial Flower Garden banquet yesterday, the Imperial grandson and Liu Su had a falling out. Today he must have come to call off the wedding. Call it off? Surely not. The Imperial grandson with is deeply enamored. How could he possibly call off their wedding? You know not the truth. That Liu Su has always relied on the prince's affections for her own gain, putting on airs of feigned nobility. Yet in truth, she has taken full advantage of the imperial grandson's generosity, that besotted fool of a prince. Were I in his place, I would have disposed of that greedy Liu Xiang with the slash of a blade. Easy to laugh when one is but an observer. Yunhe rides upon his steed, as the onlookers engage in heated discussion, all deeming the prince a besotted fool. Truly, affairs of the heart ensnare all, save for our Lord, who remained blind. Thankfully, our Lord has now seen the light, else we too would have been mere spectators, feasting on the show. Yet I wonder, with our Lord entering the Liu residence alone, upon encountering that Liu Su, will his besotted ailment resurface? His narrowed eyes gleamed as he gazed intently towards the Liu household. The inner hall of the Liu residence. Liu Wentao, a 5th-rank imperial censor from an undistinguished family. Under normal circumstances, he would not have the opportunity not to the emperor summoning him by name. At this moment, he sat upright in the principal listening seat to the reports of his servants, his gaze somewhat unfocused and unsteady. He did not seem to be coming to apologize or offer gifts. The old Master Wei's son saw it all clearly. The Marquis of Anting arrived with dozens of large carriages, none of which carried anything except jade. Liu Wentao turned his gaze towards Huaiyu beside him. What do you make of this? How else to see it but with one's eyes? In truth, Huaiyu felt somewhat disheartened at the moment. Judging by the present situation, it seemed to have deviated entirely from his previous life's trajectory and also from his control. If Xie Hengyu truly broke off the engagement with that wastrel, then Liu Su would merely be the daughter of a fifth-rank imperial censor from an undistinguished family, of little help to his own path to greatness. Given Liu Siyau's mindset, she would undoubtedly wish to marry him, and as the Liu family's adopted son, beholden to their kindness, he could hardly refuse outright. But if he married Liu Su, how could he then take Liu Yunwan of the Liu family in Jiangbei without the financial backing of the Jiangbei Liu family? Even if he attained the status of imperial scholar, an imperial scholar without power, prestige, his path to greatness would undoubtedly be arduous. Liu Su stood across from Huaiyu. Seeing his changeable expression, she thought to herself, Huaiyu must agonizing over how to handle this situation for my sake. Brother J-Dub, Liu Su said affectionately. Since Xie Hengyu showed no sincerity, I shall shatter his intentions. But he could simply break off the engagement, no? Nonsense, Liu Wentao rebuked angrily upon hearing this. The emperor bestowed this marriage. Can it be so easily undone? Since the emperor bestowed this marriage, he, a commoner imperial censor, could be considered an influential figure in the official circles of the capital. Those who had once looked down upon him, regardless of status, were now with honeyed words. They showered him with gifts of jade and silver, as if money were jewels and treasures. Lavish presents beyond estimation. From the emperor and crown rewards prince of immense value. What if the imperial grandson truly came to break the engagement? Would he demand the return of those gifts? For Liu Wentao, that would be more painful than cutting flesh. It is easy to ascend from frugality to extravagance, difficult to descend. And in this imperial marriage, Liu Wentao gained not just luxurious living, but a station he could scarcely have dreamed of. Now this dream was about to end. Liu Su cared not for her father's thoughts. From the very start, father, I did not wish to marry that wastrel Xie Hengyu. Only for your dignity and Huaiyu's earnest wishes did I agree to the betrothal, if not for the sake of my father's reputation and brother Huaiyu's piety. I would never have agreed to this marriage. Soon Xie Hengyu will arrive, and not only must he apologize thoroughly for his rudeness at yesterday's flower viewing banquet. He knows that brother Huaiyu is 100 times better than such a dissolute man, and feels ashamed of himself. Knowing his own inferiority, naturally, he will have no face to ask for those gifts again, but will instead offer generous gifts to apologize. Just as Xie Hengyu reached the entrance to the inner hall, he heard these words of shameless arrogance. Luckily, he did not stumble over the threshold. Haha, I wonder what kind of apology the first talent of the capital wants from me? What kind of generous gift should I offer with both hands? A light and casual voice drifted in from the side. Liu Su turned to look, only to see Xie Hengyu in a bright red wedding robe, strolling leisurely into the hall with Xianqing. Xie Hengyu did not acknowledge Liu Su's gaze. His brilliant star-like eyes fixed on the host seated at the main position. A smile playing on his lips, he said, Lady Liu, do you not know what I have come to take back? Has the Liu family prepared? The imperial grandson entered. Liu Wentao hurriedly stood up from the main seat. He took 3 strides, making 2 steps, towards Xie Hengyu. Your Highness, Liu Wente pays respects to the Imperial grandson. Your Highness. Xie Hengyu casually waved his hand. His manner embodied the aura of a superior. Your Highness, Liu Wentao stood up. He bowed with hands by his sides, standing aside. He spoke carefully. Your Highness ... I have heard about the incident at the flower viewing banquet yesterday. I have punished my daughter. My daughter has been spoiled since ignorant of proper etiquette. Please, Your Highness, be forgiving. The Emperor has bestowed her hand in marriage. She is destined to marry Your Highness in the future. Do not hold a grudge against her. Hearing Liu Wentao's words, Xie Hengyu was stunned for a moment, but before he could speak, Liu Siyao spoke first. Father, there is no need to bow and scrape before him. He heard what I said earlier. If he does not apologize today, I will never fulfill the marriage vow. Xie Hengyu laughed as if hearing a joke. What do you mean, no need to bow before me? Liu Siyao, a minor official family like yours, dares to disregard the Emperor's authority? Dares to disobey the Imperial Prince? Do you not understand this principle? As the Imperial grandson, I am your family's lord. Are you uncomfortable with my royal status? How audacious of you! At these words, Liu Siyao was rendered speechless. Liu Wentao's face turned deathly pale. He stood frozen like a cold cicada, unable to stop trembling. The Imperial grandson's words nearly made him erupt in rage. The situation unfolding before him did not match his memories at all, making him rather anxious. He hurriedly took a step forward. Your Highness, you came to our residence for Yao's marriage. Since it is a marriage matter, it concerns the Imperial clan and our family. Why must Your Highness assert your authority ... before family members? With a skillful twist, the situation was cunningly defying the Imperial authority and courting was portrayed as a feat of valor and gallantry, an overbearing display of might. Xie Hengyu regretted not bringing Hu Yaozong along, with Hu III's temper and prowess. There would have been no need for such idle prattle. He saw through the superficial sentiments. As if a towering pine stood before him, its brows laden with disdain and scorn for him. The esteemed Prince Huang Tai, before this fated male lead, appeared no more than a court jester, recalling his villainous role. Xie Hengyu felt no vexation towards others. Were it not for the fated male lead's status, he would have torn this hypocritical pretender limb from limb. At this chance encounter, Huaiyu, this cold beauty, snorted disdainfully. Are you two a match? Huaiyu heard this too, and her expression darkened. Prince Huang Taizhen, what do you mean by that? Just as I said. Xie Hengyu laughed coldly. Does the lofty Lord Qin not even understand plain speech? Ha! Qin Huaiyu clearly sensed the simmering tension between him and Xie Hengyu. Knowing this was not yet the time for a falling out, he laughed lightly to defuse the situation. The prince jests. I never joke. Xie Hengyu shook his head. Lord Qin, one who has yet to join the ranks of officialdom. Who gave you such face to address me in this manner? Lord Liu, I hear Lord Qin is your precious daughter-in-law. Is this how you discipline her? As he spoke, Xie Hengyu's gaze swept disdainfully over those of the inner chambers. Liu Wentao felt as if struck by thunderbolt, not daring to meet the prince's eyes. He immediately bent his body, smiling. Your Highness, please forgive me, as a parent in disciplining my child. Liu Siyao could no longer remain silent. First insult and humiliate her brother Huaiyu, then forced their father to admit his wrongs. What did he mean by failing to discipline? Was he not saying Huaiyu lacked upbringing? Xie Hengyu, what grievance do you bear? Take it out on me instead. Liu Siyao stepped forward, raising her jade hand. I will not allow you to insult Huaiyu. Liu went out, seeing his daughter's actions, was so shocked his remaining half-soul nearly fled. Father ... double quotes Liu Siyao then turned her furious gaze back to Xie Hengyu. You will apologize to Huaiyu at once, or I will never forgive you, much less marry you. In Liu Siyao's heart, her beloved Huaiyu was the brilliant moon in the night sky, while Xie Hengyu could not even match a firefly's glow. Faced with Liu Siyao's scolding, Xie Hengyu remained expressionless. Xie Hengyu turned a deaf ear. He gazed at her with an expressionless face, gazing at the so-called #1 talent of the capital, still with a lofty demeanor. She couldn't help but smile inwardly. Even at this point, could Liu Siyao not see the situation clearly? Xie Hengyu watched her expression, still, haughty and coldly beautiful. He no longer wished to dwell on it. She scoffed coldly. If you don't want to marry, then don't. Do you think you're some sort of delicacy? Xie Hengyu's cold words immediately made Liu Siyao angry and ashamed. Xie Hengyu, you scoundrel! Shut your mouth, you wretch! Liu Wentao's remaining half-soul also gradually lost rationality along with his daughter. It flew out. At this point, Liu Siyao had become rather reckless. It was you, Xie Hengyu, who asked the emperor for this marriage. And it was also you who agreed to the divorce. Why should the Liu family bear all of this? As he spoke, he took a step toward Huaiyu. Those beautiful eyes looking at Xie Hengyu were full of resentment. Brother Baiyu merely spoke a few just words, yet you shamelessly took advantage of your status as the imperial grandson to insult Xie Hengyu wantonly. Let me tell you, Brother Baiyu is highly educated, with lofty aspirations. Even if you ascend the throne one day, you are not worthy to be mentioned. In the same breath as Brother Huaiyu, Liu Wentao felt the sky was about to fall. What monster had he raised? How could she say such things? Was she trying to push the Liu family into an abyss of no return? Liu Siyao wanted to continue her rant, but in the next instant, her voice stopped abruptly. A loud slap landed on Liu Siyao's fair, tender face, leaving a bright red handprint. Shut your mouth, you wretch! Liu Siyao looked at her father in disbelief, her beautiful eyes shimmering with tears. Kneel and apologize to the imperial grandson. But I've done nothing wrong. Why should I apologize? Liu Siyao gritted her teeth, her face covered in makeup smudges. Liu Siyao dared to defy the reigning imperial grandson like this. It was actually like this. As Xie Hengyu pursued her, his attitude became too low, allowing Liu Siyao to develop a feeling that the imperial grandson was nothing so special. At the same time, she cultivated an inexplicable condescending attitude. You've done nothing wrong. Liu Wentao felt he was going mad. Speaking disrespectfully, insulting the imperial grandson. This is a crime punishable by the entire clan's execution. Huaiyu drew his sword. The situation was spiraling out of control. He hardly restrained Liu Siyao, who still wanted to argue. But now we are powerless. We cannot prevail against the imperial grandson. Brother Baiyu, Liu Siyao gazed up at the tall, handsome, and extraordinarily noble Huaiyu before her. The grievance in his heart suddenly gushed forth. Two streams of clear tears flowed from his throat, a pitiful and touching appearance that aroused sympathy. Truly the female protagonist. Tears came as easily as they were summoned. If one had not witnessed it themselves, they would never believe the arrogant woman from before was her. Liu Siyao and Huaiyu gently consoled her with a few words. Then he raised his eyes to look at Xie Hengyu, Imperial Prince. You really have schemed well. What scheme? The sudden accusation left Xie Hengyu bewildered. Speak plainly instead of speaking in riddles. Huaiyu said, ever since the flower viewing banquet yesterday, Your Highness has been employing the strategy of letting the prey go to subdue it, agreeing to divorce with Yao Yao, but in reality plotting step by step, with the aim of forcing Yao Yao into a corner, and now taking advantage of Yao Yao's momentary in order to have her father pressure her into continuing the marriage to Your Highness. Huaiyu spoke calmly. I've already seen through everything. I admit you've won this round. But your victory is not glorious. If not for your status as Imperial Prince, all your schemes and manipulations would be a complete joke in my eyes. So I advise you to quickly apologize to Yao Yao and seek her forgiveness. Then I can try to persuade Yao Yao on your behalf. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult. When Xie Hengyu heard this long-winded speech, he was utterly speechless. He knew clearly in his heart that Huaiyu hoped he would go to Liu Siyao himself. Otherwise, why waste so many words? A seemingly reasonable excuse? Alas, he was Xie Hengyu, not someone meek. Moreover, he was the crown prince determined to rebel. Officially divorcing Liu Siyao now was the first step on his path of rebellion. Huaiyu, are you sick in the head? Xie Hengyu rolled his eyes in disdain. Which ear of yours heard me say I want to continue with Liu Siyao? Relentlessly scheming, letting the prey go to subdue it. I think it is you, Huaiyu, he said irritably. You clearly know Liu Siao's heart belongs to Baiyu. Yet you pushed her before this prince. Isn't it because you're worried that after the divorce, you'll lose the imperial study and residence? Even at old Master Zhang will have to return home to recuperate. You want to effortlessly take all the benefits for yourself, yet make me out to be the villainous bully abusing my power? Allowing people to scorn me behind my back? I may be a profligate, but I'm not a fool. You'd best be clear, Huaiyu. This is still the Great Chu Dynasty, ruled by my Xie family. As Xie Hengyu said this, his piercing gaze fixed on Huaiyu. With an unstable look in his eyes and complexion alternating pale and flushed. It was indeed the case that, when he mentioned the Great Chu and the realm under his Xie family's rule, the corners of Huaiyu's mouth subtly twitched in disdain. A twitch. With an unsteady gaze, and a complexion alternating between flushed and pale. Indeed, when he mentioned the Great Chu Dynasty and the realm under his Xie family's rule, the corners of Huaiyu's mouth subtly twitched in disdain. A twitch, as if he utterly scorned those two statements. Yet he had to forcefully suppress the storm raging in his heart. And as Xie Hengyu's words grew more and more direct, laying bare Huaiyu's ambitions and unsavory thoughts, he felt utterly uncomfortable. The darkness in his eyes deepened as well. It seemed this fated male lead already viewed the realm of Chu as something in his possession. Very well, very well. I, Xie Hengyu, shall see whose realm this will be in the end. Whether you, the fated protagonist, will succeed in ascending the throne and become the founding celestial lord, or if I, the villain, can defy fate and turn the tables. No more idle chatter. Xie Hengyu's limited patience was almost exhausted. I've made my purpose very clear in coming here. My possessions are not so easily taken. With that, he took out two jade slips from his robe. and casually tossed them in front of Liu Wentao on the ground. Gifts from the Emperor and my Imperial father. Remember these two jade slips clearly. You have 1 hour's time. If you cannot follow the instructions on the jade slips and gradually hand over what is mine, hey, you'll see the Grim Reaper himself in the capital, the infamous Hu Laozhen. I'm sure Lord Liu has heard of that name before. When Liu Wentao heard Xie Hengyu's words and saw the 2 jade slips on the ground, bitterness welled up in his heart. But more than that, he felt indignant rage. Those rare treasures belonged to him. Yet now he had to hand them over without a single one missing, which was even more painful than being killed. But no matter how unwilling, what could he do? Liu Wentao was well aware of his daughter's attitude toward the Imperial Prince, which was known to all in the capital by now. Adding to that, his daughter's outburst today, he could only pray silently in his heart that the Imperial Prince would be magnanimous and not pursue issues with the Liu family. Otherwise, even 10 Liu families could not withstand the Imperial Prince's thunderous wrath. In that moment, Liu Wentao seemed to have aged 10 years. Trembling, he bent down and picked up the jade slips from the ground. This subject obeys your highness's command.